Hi folks, my name's Andrew, and in this video I'm going to show you how much it actually costs to run and charge an EV. We're going to compare it to a petrol car and a diesel car, and we'll work out which is cheaper over the long run. So this is my Model 3 Performance. I've owned it now for 1 year and about 21,000 miles. I'm going to show you exactly what it's cost me to charge the car and use it for 1 year, and we'll compare some of the other publicly available chargers and compare what it costs to use those as well. So first of all, a benchmark. I've used a diesel car at 50 miles per gallon, which I think is pretty reasonable. Most diesel cars these days can get 50 miles per gallon. Here in Northern Ireland, it's currently £1.45 for diesel. So a 50 litre fill will cost you £72.50, and the cost of doing 280 miles of that, which is about the range of my car, is £32.85p. And that works out at 12p per mile. So that's our benchmark, and that's what we're going to compare my electric car to. So a little bit about my car. It's a 2023 heat pump refreshed Model 3. Now it's not the Highland, it's the one before that. Over the last 20,000 miles, it's averaged 283 watt hours per mile. Now if you're in a standard range Model 3, it'll probably be closer to like 220. A long range will be closer to 250, and then mine has averaged 283. Your electric car may vary. An I-Pace, for example, is like 300 watt hours per mile, and some of those bigger Range Rover type things are like into 400 watt hours per mile. So it'll all vary depending on the car you have. So the first and most efficient way to charge a car is using a free charger, and these are available at some workplaces, at some like council gyms or things like that. Some other places that offer free charging are like hotels, and if you can get a free charge at a hotel, you're on to an absolute winner, because it costs you nothing to drive your car. It's the best way to charge your car if you can find one, even if they are a bit slow. Next up is to charge your car using the 7 kilowatt Tesla wall charger at home. For here in Northern Ireland, it costs 19p off peak and 32p per unit peak, which means it costs £15.20 to charge it on the night tariff and £25.80 on the day tariff, 5p per mile or 9p per mile. So you can see if you can do most of your charging at night, it's well over half the price of a diesel car, which is really good. The next one is the Tesla Supercharger. So here in Ireland and the UK, it's in and around 39p per unit. So to charge your car fully, it's about £31.20, 11p per mile. So you can see there, that's the same. That's the exact same as a diesel car. So don't be fooled into thinking that your electric car is going to save you a fortune. If you're using superchargers, which are extremely handy and totally worth the money, but you're not going to be saving any money whatsoever by using public chargers all the time. Something just to bear in mind. Some of these other public chargers I looked at in my other video, they range from 44p to 58p per unit. That's 12p to 16p per mile. They're all either equivalent or more expensive than running a diesel. Not good. The final one that I always rant about and I recommend to never use is a BP Pulse charger. Here in the UK, they're 85p per unit. That's 68 quid to fill. That's well over double the cost to charge at home on the nighttime tariff. 24p per mile. It's 24p per mile is double what it costs a diesel. So absolute joke. Never ever ever be fooled by thinking that an EV is going to be cheaper than a diesel, because it just isn't if you use these fast public chargers, which is a bit of a shame. The only other thing I could recommend doing is installing solar panels, and solar panels are great on a couple of conditions. If it's sunny all the time, here in Northern Ireland it isn't. I have a friend who has a 5 kilowatt solar panel installation with no battery pack at their house, and the most they've ever managed to generate in an entire day is 20 kilowatts, which is great. It's absolutely fantastic. But the most batteries, I think the battery in my car is 80 kilowatts, so that's 3 days of complete sunshine and no cloud to fill it. So that might suit you. That might, if you can get away with that, that's definitely the way to go. I tell most people, don't buy a Model 3 Performance, buy a Model 3 Standard range and use that additional 20 grand to put money into solar panels and get free driving. So that's my top tip for this video. Other than that, solar isn't, it's not really a solution at this stage unless you can get more. If you could get like a 15 kilowatt system on your house, then maybe. But I think here in Northern Ireland there's a planning restriction, and there's also an export restriction of 3.68 kilowatts onto the grid if you want to do import export. So 7 kilowatts is usually the highest you can go. So it's something just to bear in mind. So I don't want to be like doom and gloom. I think most people here in Ireland and the UK we're professional complainers. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm complaining. I'm just making you aware of the costs that are associated with driving an EV. I do actually intend to buy solar panels because, for example, at the weekend, most of the time my car sits on the driveway at the weekend, and that's time when I could be recouping free energy from the sun. So something that I will do in the future, but just be aware that it takes a little bit of time, especially on a residential solar installation. So I have the 7 kilowatt Tesla wall charger installed at my house. As I said, the two rates are 19p during the night and 32p during the day. I'm going to just take you through my charging costs on the app and show you what my usage is. So most of the time I charge at night, pretty much every night. I do 22,000 miles a year. So most of it's for work. I'm going to go into charge stats here and look at it over the entire year. So 7,280 kilowatts and £1,922 spent. So you can see there 82% of it has been home charging, 12% supercharger, 0% work and 6% other. And it works out the difference using the average fuel costs in the UK, and it sits and works that out every month and puts that into the calculations. So you can see there, total spent 1,922. The petrol equivalent would have been 3,739. So you can see here the cost at home has averaged between both the peak and off peak. You can see further on down, 82% off peak and 18% peak has averaged at 21p per unit. Supercharging has averaged at 34p per unit. It's a little bit cheaper down south, and you can see there other BP Pulse, 83p per unit. Can't stand them. So there's the cost. £1,240 has been used at home, 295 at supercharging and 385 at other. But that isn't just quite accurate. I've used other public chargers which haven't been as expensive as 85p. But a drawback to the Tesla app is you can't actually manually type it in. You have to just give it other and give it one number, and it works that out. So that's a bit of a shame. So here's the conclusion. Charge it at night on the nighttime tariff. If you charge it during the day tariff, it's only marginally cheaper than running a diesel. And if you charge it at any public charger, you're going to be paying much, much more to run an EV. And if you use a BP Pulse, you're paying twice. So that's my conclusions. I hope this has helped, and subscribe if it was helpful. So that's my conclusions. Hope it helped. And you know what I'm also going to say is, it's a lot cheaper to charge at home, okay? But see as EV adoption, you don't pay any tax here in the UK on an EV, but see as EV adoption starts to increase and starts to become more prevalent, and the taxman gets less money every single year from diesel and petrol sales, I can guarantee you they will either do one of two things. They will introduce a tax onto EVs every year, or they will start to more heavily tax the cost of your electricity bill. Well, mark my word. After that happens, people will start to try and come up with really good solutions to do micro generation, which is, for example, solar panels and all that. And I can guarantee you that there will be a levy placed on that as well. It'll always balance out. So if you can manage to get cheaper charging now's the time to do it, because it's not going to last. It's going to continuously creep up until it balances out. And when it does, we're fucked.